I'm excited and thrilled to bring you a Blender tutorial today that should be very fun. Um, here's, here's all the planned topics. To give you a quick overview, the plan is to build an entire scene in Blender. So we're going to start by building a beach scene, so some sand. We're going to add some props. We're going to optimize some of those things. So we'll probably bring in some water slides, a bunch of stuff we purchased for Slumber Party that I just have lying around. And the goal is to teach you just as many things that I use on my day-to-day for building for Horizon Worlds and those kind of features, and really not get too into the weeds on anything else. Now, if you're interested in importing into Horizon Worlds, we made that video yesterday, so there's a lot of very specific details on how to make models look exactly the way you want. Today, we are just going to be very skimming over some of those things. So if we have some plants that are masked, I'll show you how to make sure they are brought in as masked things. And there are some other little things like maybe some glass, but real basics. We're just really focusing today on Blender tricks and tips that are going to help build, some really amazing stuff in Horizon. So, whew, am I nervous? Yes. This is specific to Horizon, but anyone who wants to learn Blender can probably learn quite a few tricks in here. But we'll be missing out on a bunch of things that are very Blender like obvious that just don't apply to Horizon. So for instance, we won't be looking at like applying metal on the materials tab or using the roughness on the materials tab because those properties don't apply when you bring them into Horizon. So just bearing that in mind, let's get started. All right, here we are in Blender. I'm gonna go ahead and start by deleting these items, delete hierarchy. And as I mentioned, we want to start by building a beach scene. So we're going to add a mesh plane, which will represent our beach. Now, we need to make this bigger because right now it's pretty small. Let's go to our object properties setting over here, and we can see the scale. And I believe this is 2 meters by 2 meters based on the way it's filling up the grid. So if we multiply this by 32, 32, 32, it is now a 64 by 64 size plane, which is pretty decent. That's about the size of the grid in Horizon if you're familiar with Horizon. And with that, what we want to do next is take a careful look at it. And so, I should tell you how to look at things. So when we click on an object, on your number pad, you can press the period key to frame select it. If you don't have a number pad, you can go, let's say view, and then right here it says frame selected. And then when you're frame selected, you can click with the center mouse wheel, and clicking on that allows you to look around. And you can also drag around using this hand tool. Love that, one of my favorite features. And the next thing I wanted to show you is how to make this preview as if you were in Horizon Worlds, which does not support backface culling. So you're going to want to go to the options dropdown. No, it's this dropdown. Yeah, this one right here. This dropdown right next to the preview options. There's one option called backface culling. And now it'll only render from the side that it is visible. And speaking of just like different options for previewing, there's also an option here to view it as a wireframe, which you can see that this is just a quad. And that terminology is very important because Horizon supports quads and tris. It does not support n-gons. And so to show you what a triangle looks like, over here on the modifiers tab, we can convert this quad into a tri by adding the generate triangulate modifier. And now you can see it's split it into 2 triangles. And we can then hit the drop down and apply. Now this becomes very important and later today we will be creating some n-gons. N-gons are not supported by Horizon. Horizon only supports tris and quads. And so if you try to bring in a n-gon, you're going to get some errors. So you want to make sure to triangulate anything that's higher than a quad, meaning it has more edges with no linking. So we'll see more of that in a little bit, so don't worry too much. But I do recommend triangulating everything because quads are rendered slightly different in Blender than a triangle, and Horizon converts quads to tris, so you might as well do the conversion yourself, so that way you get the look you're going for. To really explain this, if you can imagine you have 4 points and you like lift one up, it kind of like bends it in space because there is no triangles, so it just kind of like makes this weird shape. But when you triangulate it, it really does show you what it'll look like. So when you bring it into Horizon, it has to triangulate it. It might not triangulate it in enough of the line that it looks correct. Um, I might not be explaining this very well, but as a very quick example, what we're building is a beach scene. We have a beach scene in Slumber Party. That's why we're building it, because I have all the props. But in our beach scene, we had rocks on the beach. And because we didn't triangulate, it was just a bunch of quads. Some of the rocks aren't actually in the sand. Like, they look like they're in the sand in Blender, but then when we bring it into Horizon, when it gets converted to tris, it doesn't. So I do recommend converting things to triangles while you're in Blender. It'll just make your life a lot easier and things will look more accurate. But the big problem with this giant sand is that it's flat. And not only is it flat, it is just two triangles. And two triangles, this is another really important thing you need to learn pretty early on. That is all that you get for lighting. So when it's trying to light it, it's lighting it based off the number of triangles. And because there are so few, it's just going to have a really hard time. So you want to just like add triangles, add geometry where you need it to be lit. And we're gonna do that real quick. I'll show you what that looks like. So if we're gonna imagine this is a beach and this is sand, sand kind of goes down at the edges. So what we want to do is subdivide this. And so let's switch back into, I guess this mode is not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible here. I think it'll look better once we get into, I'm gonna click period on my numpad to frame select this object. So click, and then period. If we switch to edit mode, we can now see the triangles. That's perfect. Now we can right click and click subdivide. And what you can see is it subdivided it into 4 quads or 4 sets of tris. And with this, we're on our way. This is starting to get better. We could even pull some of these down, right? Like, let's try it out. So if you click on one of these verts and you're in edit mode, we make sure that this says selecting verts. You can then switch to the move tool. And from the move tool, you can just drag that point down. We can do the same thing over here, dragging it down. Come over here, drag it down. And we're starting to get what will look like sand fading out on the edges. Not too bad. Now, it's not perfect because we right now don't have enough detail. So I probably should have subdivided it one more time before doing this. But if we were to period frame select, that's frame selects this one, my bad. What I meant to do is select the center one, then period frame select, zoom out. We can really start to get an idea of the height by using our middle mouse wheel, and then flying around it. So you can really start to see what that looks like. And because there's just such a lack of geometry, there's just some weird stuff happening. Now we do want this to be uneven, so I'm intentionally doing this by hand to make it look organic. What we need to do is click A to select all, right click, subdivide one more time. Now we've got even more verts. And with those more verts, we can actually fix some of these weird ones, like this area right here was kind of down. Lift that up. Select this one, lift that up. And now we're starting to get a much better beach scene. We can select this one, need to lift that up a little bit, right? So it's gonna kind of taper off. And then we'll press A to select all again, and then right click and subdivide. Now we've got even more verts we can work with, and this is starting to allow us to create our own custom island. The problem is you can't really see where the island is, right? So we should actually add a little bit of water in here so you can start to really visualize it. So I'm just gonna raise up a few of these. And before we continue on, let's go ahead and make this water plane. So we're gonna switch back to object mode. We're going to create a new object or new plane. So go add mesh plane. And this one is going to be our water. So I'm going to start labeling things. So this one is we'll call it the ocean. And then this one is going to be called the sand. Now our ocean needs to be the same size. So we'll click on object properties, going to scale. You'll remember I set it to 32, 32, 32. And we can see that it's obviously not at the right height. It might be at the same height, but because this one's down, I mean, I'm kind of okay with the idea of keeping water at the 0 level. So maybe we should select the sand, grabbing our move tool. We can now drag that up, and we can now see this kind of island forming that we've now accidentally made. So I'm thinking right about there is probably good. And not too bad. Maybe even a little smaller than that. But we can also move verts down on that island, which I'll show you again in just a second. But first, I think we should make the water look like water. And so if you're going to be building a whole scene in Blender, I believe it's great to have like a good preview so you know what you're doing. And because Horizon doesn't really support building inside of it as much as it used to, it's definitely best to be building in Blender and then importing at the end, which I do plan to show you at the very end of this. We'll bring this into Horizon. And so with our water plane, if we want to make it transparent in Horizon, you go to the materials property, click new. We're going to go ahead and call this ocean underscore transparent. All right, so now that this is called underscore transparent, Horizon will know that it's supposed to be transparent. Now to make it actually look transparent, we can go to texture paint and create a couple quick textures. So we'll go new. We're going to select an ocean color. So we'll select the color blue, maybe a little bit more right there. Nice. And we'll call this ocean underscore BR. If you want more information on how all of these names work, definitely check out the video from yesterday. I'll have to make sure to link it in the description. All right, so go ahead and click New Image. So this is our ocean color. Now you could use a texture as well, but for now we're just going to use this color. We're going to go Image, Save As. I'm going to create a new folder in my downloads. And this folder is going to be called Blender Whole Scene Tutorial. All right, now let's head in there. And so this is our ocean underscore BR, save as image. So this is going to represent the base color and roughness, where the alpha is the roughness channel. The alpha channel is the roughness. And then we do need to give it a transparency. And to create transparency, we're going to create another image, which will be called ocean underscore mesa. And mesa stands for metallic, emission, specular, and alpha. And that correlates to the RGBA values. So if we want to make our ocean reflective, we can set the metallic to 1. If we want to make it emissive, which we don't, we could change this higher than 0. And if we want to have, we definitely want our specular set to 1. That's basically occlusion. And so if it's lower than that, it makes it shaded or shadowed. And then our alpha, we want it to be transparent. So we'll set it to 0.75 or maybe even 0.8. So mostly solid, but slightly transparent. Okay, now that we have this set up, we can create new image and then image save as, saving that as our ocean underscore mesa. And when we upload this model, because the material name is named ocean underscore transparent, it's going to link up to those two image files. But it still doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like in Blender. So for making it look like what it's supposed to look like in Blender, we have to go to our base color, select our image texture, and then press open, go into that folder, selecting our BR, press open, and to preview it, up here at the top, next to wireframe preview, next to our solid preview, there is the shaded preview. And if we click on that, you can see it now looks like water. But it's not transparent yet. So down here on the Blender properties, if you want to preview it in Blender as transparent, just type in the transparency value we gave it, which was 0.8, and now we have that. For some reason, my transparency has been dithering recently, and I wanted to figure out why, because that just started recently. It must be some property. I might pause the video and go look this up, but I did want to set metallic to like 0.5. Blender's metallic is a lot more intense, but just having it at 0.5 should look about like it's going to look in Horizon, or similar to. Okay, I did find this section down here that says render method dithered. Let's try blended. Okay, that doesn't look right. Oh wait, there it is. Oh yeah, now we're good. I don't know, this must have been checked at some point. I'm not sure how that messed up, but recently it's been like that. Okay, cool. So I found this on the materials tab just by scrolling down, and it said dithered, and I was like, well, it does look dithered, and I found blended. Cool. All right. With that, let's see. We've got our ocean looking like ocean. We've got our sand not looking like sand yet, does it? So maybe we should tackle that first, and then we can modify our island to look a little more like an island. So if we go to sand, we can add the material, and this one is just going to be called sand. There's nothing special about it, so just give it a name. And then we need to link this to a texture of the same name. I believe I have sand somewhere in my downloads. Let me find it. All right, I found my tiling sand. I'll press Control-C to copy it. Go back to our folder and paste that in here. And what did I do wrong? Control-V, paste, back. Control C, forward, Control V. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so here we have our sand too. I need to make sure it matches the name, which is just sand. So we have it sand_BR. And this texture is now ready to link up. Now we got this as part of a model pack that we'd purchased, so you'll have to find your own textures that you want to use. Hovering over it, we can see that the texture is a 2K texture, which isn't too bad depending on how large you want to make it. The size is pretty huge. 6 megabytes is kind of a lot. But for now, we're going to leave it. We're going to our base color. We're going to image texture, pressing open, and going to whole scene sand. And just as a reminder, you don't actually have to link it in Blender for it to link up. Because the name was here, when you bring it into Horizon, it's going to link to that sand_BR. But previewing it in Blender lets us see that this sand fills the entire thing. And we know that this is 64 meters, which means it's going to look pretty blurry. So let's make this sand texture tiling. And to do that, we can go to the UV editor. And over here, if I press A, we can select all the UVs, and press A again over on this side. So I select A while hovering here, and then I select A while hovering here. And we can now see how the UVs map to the sand. Now you can't see the sand on this side, so if we scroll on the top, we can then select the preview mode, and now we can see it again. And the way that we're going to make this tiling is by grabbing the scale tool, clicking on the white, I totally missed it, press A again, clicking on that white section and then just scaling it up. And as you can see on the right side, it's actually scaling it, which makes it tile across our texture. It's pretty neat. And if you want to change it to a specific number, down here under resize, you can change the number. Let's say we want to do 10, 10, 10. And so every 6.4 meters will be a tile. That seems good enough for us. Zooming in, you can see that looks a lot better. And we can then switch back to layout view. So the reason that this preview changed to be back to solid is because we're on a different tab. So now that we're done, we can switch back to the layout tab. And here we can see what it actually looks like. So that's phenomenal. We now have much better UVs. So looking good. I kind of do wish we had a better ocean texture. So I kind of want to do the same thing for our ocean. If we go back to my other folder, I have the ocean water BR right here. Let's just copy it forward and paste. Now this is going to replace this one, so I delete this and then rename this ocean_BR. There we are. And then back in Blender to see this preview, we're going to select our ocean, clicking on the open, clicking on the ocean BR, press open image. You can now see what that looks like. And once again, we have our UVs need to be scaled. So we can go back to UV editing. We can then grab that same scale tool, but we need to select all the UVs first. So select A to select all, and then scale it up until we got the right look. And I'm thinking right about there is gonna do. And then because that's almost 5 and I like even numbers, we'll go to 5, 5, 5, and back to layout view. Nice. So now our scene's actually starting to look mildly decent, not too bad. Quick tip, as you've seen with our sand, let's switch to edit mode so you can really see this. As you've seen with our sand, we were able to make this custom look. You can do the same thing to the ocean to make it look like it has waves on it. And then if you spin it in Horizon, it'll look like the waves are moving. It's pretty neat. Check it out in Slumber Party. We haven't launched the world yet, but we'll be launching it in about a month and a week. Just waiting for a few trips I have scheduled, a couple weddings and the Connect event next week. So unfortunately, busy, but cannot wait to launch Slumber Party for you guys to get to check it out. It's gonna be really cool. So anyway, you can do the same thing to the ocean. While we're here looking at the beach, let's see if there's anything we want to do. Like, I love the idea of having this point go out a little bit further, so you get kind of like a little, I don't know, a little thing there. Maybe we can make this into a little cove. Yeah, that's kind of cool, right? We could even lower this. And we're starting to need more detail though, right? Like, this is not enough detail. It's good, but it's not enough. And we could change the lower ones. But what I really want to point out to you here is that when we subdivide this, if we keep subdividing the edges, no one's going to be on the edges, right? Like, those are underwater. They're mostly there just to look like the sand is getting deeper. So we don't want to subdivide the edges. What we can do is select the Z tab right here to go from our top-down view. We can then select all the things that we want to subdivide. So let's select this entire section right here. Let's then right click and subdivide. And now we've left these larger, meaning we're saving vertices. So if we go to the drop down, where is that drop down? This one? And why do I always have trouble finding this? It probably was on this one and I just couldn't see it. Maybe you have to be in solid mode. Solid mode, drop down, and statistics. I'm looking for the statistics button. I always have so much trouble finding this. Ah, here it is. I feel like it's in this tab. This one? This one. Why am I blind? Literally every single time I'm on video trying to find this, I never can. It's crazy. Something about the pressure of recording causes me to get lost. Edges, faces, indices. I mean, they didn't change it with the newest version, right? It's got to be in the same place. There it is, statistics. I don't know how I missed that over and over and over again. There it is, right there. So we're in this drop down, so the double circle drop down statistics. Once you click on statistics, I recommend leaving that on while you're in here. It's just always nice to see these numbers. You can see that our current sand, let's get back to the shaded view. You can see that these, I believe it's just that these selected, is 169 out of 201. And so we want to keep our verts down. And so now that we've subdivided this, we might consider just subdividing this section, right? The section that is the island, so that this section has better lighting. You can even go as far as to unselect. Just note that once you subdivide, it can be kind of, oh, is it shift click? Maybe I haven't done this in a minute. Shift click, there you go. Once you unsubdivide, it can be a lot harder to re-subdivide later. So I would recommend kind of keeping the extra detail there in case we decide to do something in this area. And we're just going to ignore the fact that that's on the edge. But what this means is if you have better lighting by subdividing, so we click subdivide, these areas will be lit better. So if you have like a light, say a campfire or anything with lighting on it, it's going to light a lot better. In fact, we come in and next to our campfire, we subdivide even further to get even more realistic lighting. Like the lighting just looks better the more subdivisions you have. But as you can see, we're up to 1,000 verts. We're up to 1,000 edges, 462 verts for the whole thing. It adds up pretty quick. So if you can do this sort of like tiling in, you're going to do a little bit better. Now, if I click on my mouse wheel and then we can go back into 3D mode and we can start modifying these to be a little bit more accurate. So to make this cove look nicer, we can, let's hand tool to the left, lift this one up, and you might make it look like dunes. So we might want to make some of these a little, like we have this much detail, we might as well use it to create these kind of like sandy dune sort of waves. And I'm not going to go too in depth for this, but you can totally imagine taking this. Careful not to go down too low. I mean, you can do it intentionally, but if you go down too low, you're going to bring in the water. You might want to do that depending on what your goals are, but for now we're not going to. And so yeah, you can start to see this is coming along nicely. Definitely recommend throwing in some more kind of like natural looking geometry. Now for reference, the sand you see in Slumber Party was made by the Vidyuu terrain generator. There's a link to that on our website. You can download it. It's kind of a rough application, but it's basically just allows you to generate some rough terrain. We then, by hand, manually adjusted things to get it to look exactly the way we wanted. So a lot of what you're seeing here is what we did to make it just what we were looking for. Like right here, I kind of want to make this point go out a little bit further. So I might drag this up and then drag this up just to get that look. Like that's kind of neat, right? And then might need to lift this one up to give it just a little more thickness right here. And you can kind of play with it just to get the exact feeling you're going for, which is so much fun. Really, I love a little bit of art. If you're not into art, that's totally okay, but for me, this is just a fun outlet to get to play with. And you can totally imagine just like, boom. I mean, that's so good, right? Very fun. So, okay, we are absolutely done with that. That was amazing. We're gonna switch back to object mode, and somebody might be yelling in the chat that you can press tab to switch between edit mode and object mode. That doesn't work for me all the time. I don't know why. It's kind of broken on my computers, but I just click up here because it just seems like it's faster. Okay, let's see. I'm going to pop back on the camera. Hey! Let's see how far we've gone through this list. Might not be entirely clear, but I've slashed off quite a few topics. We're doing really good. There was one thing I missed that we needed to go over. We actually did cover moving vertices as well. Nice. Backface culling. We talked about it, but there's one other place you need to turn it on. So if I minimize this and we go from underneath, you'll see that it's visible, which is not how it actually is it would look in Horizon, because backface culling. If we go to solid view, you'll see that there is nothing there. That's correct. So if we switch back over here and we go to the sand and we scroll down, there's a button down here to turn on backface culling so it previews correctly. So this is what it would actually look like when we're in Horizon. And then the ocean needs the same thing. So going to ocean, scrolling down, turning on backface culling, and now that looks correct. You might want your users to be able to go underwater, like they might be able to walk here under the water. And in that case, you might want to make it so that the water is double-sided. So I think we should show that real quick. So if we click on the water and we go, let's look at wireframe real quick. And so we can see the wire frame of the water is just a plane. So it's just a quad. There's not even triangles on it. So what we're gonna do is two elements. Number one, I want to triangulate it. So let's go to our wrench tab, add modifier. You can also type triangulate rather than going to generate. So you just type TR and there's triangulate. And we can see that's added a triangle. Go ahead and press drop down, apply. And then the next thing I want to show you is if we switch to edit mode, we have everything selected. You can press A if it's not, and then press Shift D. That duplicates a copy. And with that duplicate copy, if we right click, it will snap it back to that location. Now, unfortunately, we have two at the exact same location facing the exact same direction, but we can invert it to face the other direction by going to mesh, normals, flip, and now that we've flipped them, they're on the other side. With that flipped, I'm going to select all again. We're going to go to mesh. We're going to click to merge by distance, and theoretically, it says it removed 4 vertices, which is concerning me, but might also be the intention. We need to go back to preview mode to see if we can see it from both sides. And it doesn't look like we can. So this merge by distance factor down here, if I add 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, press enter. Darn it, I don't think that's working. I can't bring it back. What am I doing wrong? Let's see. Control Z. Control Z. I might not be able to fix this entirely. I'm not entirely sure. So right here you can see it's now rendered on both sides. So this is before I merge them. The problem is it might count as 2 draw calls in Horizon when you bring it in, which is unfortunate. Because you want to reduce your draw calls, as we can only have around 250 max. So I'm not sure though. Like honestly, I really wish in Horizon there was a button where you could click on a model and see the number of draw calls, because I've not been able to confirm that this doubles the draw calls, but it feels like it does. So we'll go ahead and switch back to object mode. Anyway, normally I'd want to join that, but since I can't get it to look right, I'm not going to. But now we have water viewable from the underside, so if you're standing on the beach, you can look up and see through it and see anything that's floating up there, clouds, sky, whatever is above you. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so we've got our beach, we've got our ocean, making good progress. So the next thing we should look at is potentially just building a quick house. I'm not really here to teach it too much on the 3D modeling side, but there's some really cool tricks with Boolean geometry that I think you'll enjoy. So we're going to start by adding a mesh cube, and we'll slide this up. Now, I'm thinking this cube's pretty small. It looks pretty big on our beach, which means our beach might be really small. Oops. I'm not sure, actually. I'm like really... When we bring it into Horizon, I guess that's when we'll figure out the sizing. Some people will build a like sizing thing. We could also just scale it up uniformly. So, but anyway. We've got our cube here, which is going to be just kind of a shack. And this shack, we need to cut out the inside. And I'm going to show you how to do that pretty easily. I'm thinking we double up the size a little bit. So scale, go to 2 to 2. Nice. And then we need to move this around until we get it to a place we like it. I accidentally shade smoothed it. Right click, shade flat. This isn't a feature I meant to show it while we were working on sand in the ocean. So let's do that real quick. So click on the sand, and you see how it's got this geometry that's not very smooth? Well, if you right click, you can click shade smooth, and now the geometry, the edges are not as visible, and it looks great. So that's shade smooth, and shade flat gives you sharp edges. So if you right click shade flat, you can also change the, if you go shade auto smooth, you can change the angle at which the vertices show. So you can see those kind of popping in and out of view there. We're going to do full shade smooth. And the next thing I was going to show you is with this cube. So let's switch back over there, make sure that's set to shade flat. And I'm going to click period to frame select it. And we now need to move this around, get ourselves a nice little location here, kind of beach shack, thinking right about there. I'm going to change the scale. We can also use the scale tool to adjust that on a specific axis. And then down here we can resize it to get it exact, so like 2. And we'll switch back to the move tool. Now that we have this ready to go, it's time to crop it out. So you'll remember earlier we used Shift D to duplicate. You can then select the axes that you want to duplicate it on. So in this case, we want to go up, which is, you can see up here is the Z axis. So I'll press Z to slide it upwards. Now that I've slid this upwards, on the Properties tab, we can scale this to create it just slightly smaller so that it fits inside of this box, so we can cut out the inside. And so let's go to the scale on the, and XYZ is RGB. So this is the X, this is the Y, this is the Z. And so the Z axis we want to make slightly larger, 2.2. And the other axes we want to do slightly smaller. So let's go to 1.8 and 3.8. And now that that's been chopped in, we can slide that down so that it fits nicely inside. And now that that is nicely inside, it's roughly, maybe it's a little short. Slide that up a little bit. Yeah, that should do the trick. So we're going to crop that and make this hollow on the inside. And to do that, we need to first select the outside shack. We're then going to go to the modifiers, add modifier, type in BO for Boolean, select Boolean. We're then going to use just difference and exact. And we should be able to see this once we hit apply. So we'll hit the drop down, hit apply, and then turning off the visibility of the old shack. So shack dot, oh, I forgot to hit, sorry, I missed a step. You need to select the object. So selecting shack.001, then hitting apply. Okay, we've now cut shack.001 out of shack. We can then turn off the visibility of shack, and you can now see the inside of this. And that's pretty great. We're not done with this, so we're going to do one more cut. And I kind of want to imagine if we turn this shack on and we go to the slide tool. Let's see, select, there we go. And then we're going to slide this out. Kind of thinking if we just cut this out of here, we'll get a giant open feel. Might not be what we're going for. Might want to make this a door. Maybe we'll make it a door. So if we go to our scale on our y-axis, we can change that down to just be 1 wide. And now we've got what looks like a door. We're getting some shadows, but looks right. So let's slide it off to one side. I think that'll look best. So we'll slide it over to right about there. And then selecting this shack, going to our modifiers, add modifiers, Boolean, B-O-O, click Boolean. And now we're going to cut the shack.001 out again, pressing apply, and then turning this off. And we can now see we have a door into our little beach shack. It's got a sand ground. You could always fix that, as you just saw. We could have used Booleans to not show the sand. I'm really worried that this beach is actually, this is the right size for living in. Anyway, we'll determine that when we bring it into resin. We can now delete this cutting piece that we were using. And it's pretty neat. It's pretty bland. Like, I would definitely not use this. This might be a good placeholder while I'm working on something though, or if we have like a 3D modeler working on something, I might use this as a placeholder. Anyway, it's pretty bad. So since it's just a placeholder, you might want to use this for, sorry, brain. You might want to use this for, what I'm trying to say is you might not want to use a texture on it. And there's a way to paint something without having a texture. But before I get too far out of hand, we actually have a ton of n-gons here because Blender is constantly making n-gons. And so if we switch to the shack, going to wireframe view, you can see that there are no triangles here. So we need to go add that triangulate modifier from earlier. Triangulate, now it's got triangles. Very good. Go ahead and apply that. And now if you didn't triangulate this, when you bring it into Horizon, it'll just come in looking like a cube. It won't look like it's been chopped up at all. So just n-gons just do not supported by Horizon at all. Okay, so we'll go ahead and switch back to the preview mode. And this next thing I'm going to show you is called vertex painting. So down up here at the top left, we can switch to vertex paint. We can select a color, and we're going to select a kind of a beachy, kind of like a beachy tone right there. Let's drop that just a little bit darker. Yeah, I'm thinking right about there is going to do the trick. So it looks like a beech wood. Might bring the brightness up just a hair. Down a little bit. There we go. And now if I paint this, you might be like, it's not doing anything. And you're right. So what we have to do on our shack is give it a material. If you switch to view solid, you can actually see the color has been applied. But because we're going to be wanting to preview the beach and everything, we're definitely going to go and do this in viewport shading. So to make it visible, so like you can see, I can paint on this and here, should be able to. If I could click and drag. I guess I can't click and drag. Maybe I have to click a point and then drag? No. It must be a click, 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 click. Anyway, so it applies it to the vertexes. So you have to click on a specific vertex to apply it. But to make it visible with everything else and viewport shading, you need a material. And so for this to link up, we'll call it shack. And for Horizon to know that you want to use vertex painting, you have to type in VX for vertex. Or sorry, it's underscore. So shack underscore VX for vertex. And then it's painting, which is color. So VXC, so vertex color. And then that will link it in Horizon when you import it. But to make it preview, you click on the yellow dot for base color. And you want to select color attribute. And now you can see that comes through nicely. And you can continue painting and paint it along with your scene. And you could choose some like different colors too. Like if you wanted to maybe make part of it slightly darker, we could darken this color. And then that might be not super noticeable, but let's zoom in here. I might need to select the shack, press period for frame selected. There we go. And then we can paint this one. And now we got slightly like a gradient, which is nice. We could do the inside slightly differently, right? So we could, I don't know how to get inside this thing. It's really hard to move around in Blender, but we could switch to the inside and change it out with maybe like a darker, grayer, maybe brighter. Yeah, we could do something like this on the inside. So just painting the inside almost white, but just an off-white. Starts to look okay. Oh yeah, I am able to drag around. Weird, I wasn't able to do that before. We'll use the hand tool to move around a little bit better. Come on, hand tool. There we go, and then look up. Grab that one, and then look down. Grab that one. Look up, grab this one. This might create some issues on the outside, I'm thinking, but for now, we need to go down, zoom out, go down, hand tool down. Obviously, like moving in Blender, very difficult, but you kind of figure it out the more time you do it. So just like keep doing it. And almost done, I think. Just missing that edge. No, that looks good. Where did I miss? This one? Huh. Not sure why those look different. It must be coming off of this edge up here. Let's quickly look at the wireframe view. Huh. Kind of hard to tell what's going on there. Is there something right there that I didn't see? Switch back to viewport shading. Oh. Something might have been right there. Huh. Not sure what I'm seeing. Anyway, on the outside now we've got kind of this beige, and on the inside we got it nice and white. It's not perfect by any stretch. We're not going to keep going though. But as you can see, this would make for a good gray box model just to start us off. And it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Okay, so that is vertex painting. Now you might be wondering, how do you know all of these underscores? Well, that's the video I did yesterday that I keep referring to because honestly it took me so much time to prepare and so much time to record. But I do have a cheat sheet. I just have to tell you it's not good. This is the cheat sheet. That's where I took a picture of it. Pictures, screenshots, scroll, 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 scroll. Scroll, 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 scroll. Lots of screenshots. Oh, I went the wrong side. I went the wrong way. Go back to the top. It was at the top the whole time. Here it is. Okay, I'll open that up. Okay, so this isn't perfect. I'm working on a version that will be much better, so prepare yourself for that. That'll ideally be linked in the other video's description. But what you can see here is the material names, so the file names, and the material name in Blender. So right here we can see that VXC correlates to vertex painted. There's no file required because it's vertex painted. And then you just export it as an FBX. Pretty simple. And there's color per vertex. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And then there's also VXM, which allows you to mix it with a material, so like a texture. So you could do the vertex painting we just did here, and then also apply a texture. I don't know how to preview that in Blender, but you can mix. It's cool. Anyway, so making progress. We're going to do another quick check-in. So let me pause and go through my notes and see where we're at. We're doing really good for the fact that we're just at 42 minutes in. This list is very much most of the way cleared off. There's still a lot, and I still want to bring in a lot of like 3D models. We've been doing a lot of like custom modeling just to kind of teach some of the basics. I was supposed to mention, and I might have mentioned this already, that there is snapping. I've never used it because I just don't spend that much time in Blender. But if you look up here, there should be snapping. Let's see. Where's that located? Oh, it's not in vertex paint mode. We have to switch back to object mode. That makes sense. Okay, so here we are in object mode, and there it is, snapping. So I imagine if we turn snapping on and then we hit like Shift D to duplicate this, I mean, it's trying to snap to something. Like I would definitely look at tutorials. I imagine if we hit the Y-axis, it snaps along the Y-axis. Oh, look at that, we did it. Oh my gosh, I've learned snapping. At the same time, let's hit Shift D and go the other direction. So then we hit Y to snap on that axis. Nice, look at that. Pretty cool. And snapping exists in lots of different areas, so you can use it all over the place. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Galactic was like, you need to talk about snapping, even if you don't use it. Like, you need to at least mention it. So there you go. Thank you, Galactic, for pushing me to do that. Very good. I want to see if there was anything else in here that I was supposed to mention. Like arraying a shape, like you just saw there, we duplicated, but that's not the same thing as array. There is an array tool that is really, really neat. Let's see. If we go to our shack and say we wanted to have 3 of these shacks for some reason, we go to the modifiers, add modifier array. Here in the array modifier, you can see it's already arrayed out a copy of it. We can make that copy count larger. We can add some relative offset. And so if we increase this, we can create some space between them. You can make it look like stairs. So if we change this back to 1, and then we go up, oh, that's not up. We go up, you can make it into stairs, ascending or descending. Like, obviously there's a lot you can do. It's pretty neat. Obviously we're not gonna do that, but as you can see, there's a lot you can do with that. I'm not sure how to rotate it. I've used this like very mildly. Maybe you can't rotate it because it's based on the orientation of that object. That would make sense. So if you go to -1, it should go the other direction, right? So, and ta-da! So like, you know, the options exist. Whatever you want to do, it's possible. It's pretty cool. Array is pretty cool. We're gonna go ahead and remove that, but you just have to apply it just like you've seen everything else. So, very nice. Okay, we've got our ocean sand shack. What's next? I wanted to mention X-ray, which is this one. Which one is it? I've used it a few times. Let's see. Maybe you have to be in a specific mode to see X-ray. So we switch to edit mode. And so say you wanted to select, let's go to this view. If you hit on the -Y, you can lock the vantage point. So say you want to select these 4 verts. We've now selected those 4 verts. It looks like we accidentally got this one too somehow. We just unselect it by hitting shift click. But we've just selected those verts. Now, in the case that that's what you're trying to do, great job, you did it. But if we go back to this view and say you were in this view, but you want to select everything below it as well. So you want to select, you could click A to select all, right? Like that does work. But if you want to select all of them, you can use X-ray mode, which is it this button here? I should know before I go in, but it's like, I know it's, oh, there it is, X-ray. And so with X-ray, you can see through everything and you can select through everything. Be very careful with that though, because sometimes you don't want to select through everything. Let's go back to that viewpoint. And so since we're in this locked off view, we could use X-ray to select just the inside verts, right? Just these ones, maybe not the bottom ones, but just like the inside ones. And that's pretty cool. Who knows what you might want to do with that, but you could do something. So anyway, as you can see, lots of cool opportunities. We're gonna go ahead and turn off X-ray mode. Just be careful. I can't tell you how many times we've accidentally deleted things on the other side of our world. It happens all the time, so just be cautious with X-ray mode. Very cool, but also cautious. All right, now that we're done with that, we'll switch back to object mode. Okay. I was thinking as just like a footnote, we could cut a window into this shack, and then that way you can see what glass is like. Glass is basically the same thing as the ocean. Like it's literally just about the same thing. It just has a different texture. So we're gonna very quickly do this. So we're gonna add a mesh cube. We're then going to move that cube into a position where we can cut a window out of this. And we're not going for specific here, so this doesn't need to be perfect. I do want it to be large, so I'll grab my scale tool and just kind of eyeball in a nice little window. This could even be like a shack where you buy food. If you don't put a glass window in, you could totally just make this a cutout, and then brilliant, right? So select the shack, go back to modifiers. We're getting really good at this Boolean modifier, huh? So add modifier, bool. Now that we've got the Boolean modifier, we select that cube. Go ahead and press apply. Then we can delete the cube. And the cube's like, why is it me? Why do you always delete me? The only problem is we have, once again, some n-gons. So if we look at wireframe view, we'll see that, you know, there might be quads in there, but just in case there's an n-gon, there probably is an n-gon. Probably. Almost every time I use Boolean geometry, there's an n-gon. So we just need to select the shack, modifier, generate, triangulate, and now we're good. So if we look at these, those should be now triangles. Switching back to wireframe. Ta-da! Good stuff. All right, that shack is looking a lot better. It is definitely facing the wrong direction. I was kind of thinking it would be like a beach shack looking out at the ocean, but now that it's a food shack, I'm not sure. But we wanted to do glass, and glass goes in the windows. I don't know. Let's add some glass real quick. So we're gonna add a mesh plane. Going to slide this over, slide this up. There we are. And we're just gonna eyeball this. So that's roughly in the right location. We do need to make sure that our shack supports back face culling. Oh, I forgot to apply this, didn't I? Hit apply. Go to material. We need to go to our shack and make sure that we turn on back face culling. Now, none of this is back face culled, but from the inside, it was visible just a second ago. Like right now, you see how it's, if we turn this on, now we can see the inside. So it's just nice to have it ready to go, which just like this plane is also singular sided. So when we go to material, add new material, which we'll call glass. And then this glass is going to be turn on backface culling, and we can see that we are missing one side. So we want to double this up, and I'm going to quickly grab my hand tool here. And let's rotate it first and get it right into position. That'll just be easier. So rotation, we want to rotate around the y-axis by 90 degrees. Does this work? Yo, I love it when it works. So I was looking at the green and I was like, oh, I need to rotate on that axis. So glad that worked. Let's hit period for frame selected. Then we can rotate nicely around that. And if we go to X, we can lock off our view so it's nice and centered. So it's easier to see that we're centered. And then we can switch to our scale tool and then scale that until it fills that. It doesn't need to be perfect, so that's good enough. Just like, I am a bit of a perfectionist though, so you might see me go a little OCD just trying to get it perfectly centered. But it doesn't have to be. You could totally, oh, look at that. Whoa, I've never seen that before. That was cool. Scale tool, uniform scaling it down to right there. Oh, wait, snapping. Wait, snapping. Holy smokes, I've not done this. That, I don't know if that worked. I don't know if that worked. Oh man, whatever. I have snapping on. Does it? It's good enough. It's good enough. All right, guys, so we've got that set up. Now we need to duplicate it so it's visible on the other side. Now, there are instances where you might want this to be singular-sided. So if we go to Material, Alpha, set this to like let's go 0.75, a little bit more transparent. We'll see we have dithering on again. Let's go ahead and switch that back to blended. And now that that's looking good, we can see that it's completely transparent from the other side. I do think that it gets more transparent in horizon, so I'm going to try 0.5, but I definitely wouldn't go less than that when we do actually set this up for horizon. So here we can see the inside is not visible. So let's make it visible. We're going to switch to edit mode, select A to select all. We're going to go to mesh, duplicate or shift D. I didn't realize there was actually a duplicate button here, but anyway, we'll use it. And then we've got our copy. We're going to hit right click so it snaps back to that location. We're then going to go to mesh, normals, and then flip. So it flips to the inside. Now we can see it. And we had some issues with this merging earlier. A little afraid to try merge, so I clicked A, mesh, merge by distance. Set the number to be super, super small. Even more zeros. Press enter. And then looks like it might only be on one side. That's kind of looking like it's on one side only. Let's go ahead and Control Z. Yeah, that was, darn, I wish I could get that right. Well, anyway, we'll switch back to object mode. And now we got that selected, I'm going to slide that right into the center. And our glass is almost set up. The big problem is we didn't set it up to actually be transparent. So up here we need to do glass underscore transparent. Big words, make sure they're spelled right. Transparent, perfect. And so now that we have our glass set up, I have in that folder that we've been making that stores all of these materials, we're going to want to grab one from Slumber Party just real quick. This is just like the way we did the beach earlier, so if you're wanting to do glass, just follow the bit from earlier. Go to for import, textures, we have glass, glass A and Mesa, Control C, and then we'll paste that in, and then we'll rename it. So you can see our glass is white in Slumber Party. You could make it blue if you want it to be slightly tinted blue or any other color. And then our Mesa, we can see, if we open this Mesa in Blender, go to Texture Paint, Image, Open, Glass Mesa, press Open Image. We can see that this is what it looks like. Let's get a clear idea, grabbing the hand tool here to move around. There should be an eyedropper tool, right? Right? Paint, mix, is there eyedropper in here? I feel like there's got to be an eyedropper tool. How am I missing this? Oh, is it? Here it is, eyedropper. Okay, so now that we've got the eyedropper, we can see that this is 100% metallic, so it's super shiny, and it's 100% specular, so that there's no shading, no occlusion, there's no emission from it. I was hoping to be able to get the alpha value, but you can kind of see the alpha value there. Kind of weird you can't select the alpha. mix, alpha. If I switch to alpha, can I get it? No. Whatever. Anyway, but you can see like it is pretty transparent. This is mostly transparent, and yeah, that's all I wanted to show you is just like what the values were. So I think they're pretty much the same as the ocean. Let's go switch back to layout. All right. Now, we're not going to do too much with this. We're just going to leave it as is because it's going to link up with those textures in Horizon when we bring it in. Okay, now that we've got that glass set up, the next thing to do is to bring in some plants. So I think we should bring in a palm tree. Let's go File, Import, FBX. Going to Downloads. I had this one yesterday, and there's Palm 1. Pressing Import FBX. There's our palm tree. Okay, yeah, this island is tiny. This island is tiny. The shack is probably too small to go in as well. Anyway, it's okay, I guess. It's fine for now. We'll fix it in a minute. We should probably bring this into Horizon to see what it looks like in terms of size. I don't know how I got the sizing off on this. I'm thinking that when I thought it was 2 meters wide, it was actually only 1 meter wide, and so this is actually only a 32 by 32 scene, so it's 4 times smaller than I thought, which would make sense. Oops. We can scale this up. We can just very quickly scale this up. Let's go for it. Okay, so if I'm right, all we need to do is go to our scale tab here where we said 32, set it to 64, 64, 64, and then do the same thing for the ocean. Ocean, 64, 64, 64. Now that looks a little bit more like what I was looking for. We definitely lost some stuff on the Y height because, and I think the easiest way to do this is just to drag the ocean down until we get the shape we had before, which was right about there. Yeah, right about there. Now it feels maybe a little too big, but it is definitely the height that or the size I was expecting from before. So let's drag this palm tree around, and you'll notice this palm tree was like already set up. It's because I exported it from Blender, so it's just like already ready to go. And I've already doubled the geometry on it, so that's why the backface culling should already be corrected. If we switch to material, you can see it's called palm tree. It's already linked to a, that's actually not mine. I'm actually a little confused all of a sudden. Turn on backface culling, and you can see that it has been doubled, so I did double the geometry. We do need that texture, so let's go quickly find that texture. I'm wondering if I had it in this folder from yesterday. Let's see, was the palm tree texture, here it is, palm tree BR, Control C. Go ahead and bring that in. And now we've got our palm tree ready to go. Let's link this up to the correct texture. So base color, change it out with the whole scene palm tree underscore BR and open. Cool. That really wasn't necessary. Anyway, I'm going to rename the palm tree because the names on these are what they are called when they're brought into Horizon. So we've got one palm tree. And one thing that we do need to start talking about is optimization. So this palm tree is 829 verts, not too bad. If we Shift D and then switch to the red axes, so the X axis, we can drag that over here. We might drag that on the Y axis over this way. And then we probably want to rotate it so that it doesn't look the same as the other palm tree. So we'll just give it a little spin. And then we might even grab our sizing tool, bring that, or scale tool, and scale it down just a hair so it's slightly smaller, just to make them look a little more unique. Maybe move that up just a hair. Not bad. Selecting this palm tree, we can do the same thing. Shift D, scale, or sliding on the Y axis, put that into place over there. And then we want to rotate it, so we'll give that another rotation in the opposite direction. And this one we're going to leave at this scale. And then this shack is looking a little small. And I think it is a little small. Let's go look at that scale, because it was a cube. It says it's 2 meters tall. So it just probably goes like, let's go double or 50% higher. So 3, 6, 3. That's probably the right size for this shack. We'll drag that up so it's more grounded. Nothing's floating. Oh, I didn't grab the glass, so we'll have to... I didn't grab the glass and I didn't scale the glass. So, hey glass, sorry about that, bud. Drag into position. This might be a good opportunity to group them and join them together. So yeah, let's do that real quick. This is another teaching opportunity. So here we have both of these. So we've selected both. We should name this window, or glass window. There we go. And if we select the glass and the shack, under object mode, we can join them. Now that they're joined, not bad, we can go to the scale and go to 3, 6, 3. Now this has kept them separated. I'm gonna drag this up to here, and then this down over here. We're gonna select the sand, switch back to edit mode, and then grab these points and just get this to be buried just a hair. There we go. Not bad. Okay, that's good. This one's still a little floating. Let's get that up and get this one up. There we go. I don't think it's floating anywhere anymore. Maybe right here needs to come up just a hair. All right, so good, so good. And anyway, going back to object mode. Now that we've joined them, there's one other thing we can do, because there's two pieces in here, and they haven't been like fully joined. So if you're going to join them, you can see that they have both materials listed, and that's pretty cool because you can still modify the materials and stuff. But the thing that we really want to do is reduce the draw calls. Right now there's still 2 draw calls. There are actually 4 draw calls because each texture is also a draw call. Although this is vertex colored, so let's just pretend it was a texture. Anyway, so what we want to do is merge these 2 models into one. To do that, we go to edit mode, select A. Ooh, I've never done that. Control Z. Control Z. Control Z. Stop. Control Z. What did I do? Did I actually change anything? I can't tell. Oh my gosh. Let's try this again. Switching to edit mode, and then pressing A to select all. We can then go to mesh, merge by distance. We'll see remove 4 vertices, which unfortunately was the glass window. That's unfortunate. I really don't want this to merge anything. I don't want it to get rid of anything. Usually reducing the size does the trick, just making this extra small. But it's still removing the 0. Don't know how to get this to work. Ugh. I just need to do this on something that actually works, because for whatever reason this darn window is giving me so much trouble. So we've merged them. Can we tell that we've merged them? I don't know if I can tell that they've been merged. Let's go back. Okay, so theoretically we've merged this window. I can't actually see the window. I'm like having a hard time seeing it because there's nothing. Oh, I guess we can see it right here. See how the shadow and the lightness is darker on this one? So yeah, definitely have that window. We can now select linked geometry. So if we click L key on our keyboard, it will select everything but the window. Now let's unselect it, and then hovering over the window, pressing L. Hovering over the window and pressing L. There it is. L? Oh no, that wasn't it. Is it inside? Zooming in. I'm having a hard time seeing this. L. This should have worked. This should have worked. But it's kind of buried inside of that, which I think is part of the problem. I might just hit undo, and we're just not going to do it with this one. Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. So hovering over it, pressing L. Okay, we've now selected it. So selecting L selects linked geometry because those are not linked to the big model. And what we can then do is hit Shift D, just like before, right click, go to mesh, normals, flip. Now we flip the glass the other way, switching back to object mode. We can now see that looks good. I am thinking we could have slid it along a different axes to make it so that they didn't have the exact same vert location. And that probably would have helped. But yeah, we've got our ocean, or excuse me, our glass. It's good. Glass is good. Shack is good. It's been merged. So, you know. We're making progress. Let me go ahead and check the list and see how we're doing. I just saw a note that I completely missed when we were doing vertex painting. In vertex painting, there is a way to paint alpha, but Horizon doesn't support the alpha of vertex painting, at least as far as I could test. I tried a bunch of things. So just note that while there is RGBA stored on a vertex, it doesn't import as transparent, at least as far as I could tell. If you are able to get that working, let us know in the comments. It would be great to know if there's a way to get that to work, but as far as I could tell, the alpha channel is ignored by Horizon. Okay. My goodness, we actually didn't make as much progress as I would have liked, but that is okay. We've been seeing a lot of really cool things, which is kind of the goal. I want to bring in some plants, just a real simple plant, nothing crazy. If we go into our folder from yesterday's tutorial, we have a foliage, and this foliage, as you can see, is masked. And what masked means is that there's transparency behind it. So let's copy this and paste it into our current folder. And then let's bring it in and see how it looks in Blender. So, File, Import, FBX. We're going to select the tropical leaves, press Import FBX, slide this over. Let's get that into position. Bring these out and up. Very nice. And that looks good. Okay. Make sure to call these tropical leaves. There we are. And so now that we have our tropical leaves there, let's go and get them linked to the correct image. So selecting open and then going into our folder, selecting the foliage BA. And what you're going to notice is that the material is named _masked and that the texture is named _BA. So BA stands for base color and alpha, so it uses the alpha channel, and it cookie cutter cuts it out. And so if we click on our model here, period to frame select it, and you can see these black outlines. That's where the alpha channel is. I'm not actually sure how to make that disappear in Blender, haven't figured that out yet. But when you bring it into Horizon, those black outlines will disappear because that's the outline of the actual 3D model, but it's masked, and so it disappears, and it uses the texture to create transparency. If we go down and select backface culling, you'll see that the bottoms of these are not rendered. In some cases, that's okay. With these plants being this large from this angle, it's not good. So we do want to double them up. We can do the same thing we've been getting really comfortable with, pressing A to select all, mesh, and then we want to go to duplicate or Shift D, then right click, and then we want to invert them. So mesh, normals, flip, and then selecting all, press A, mesh, merge by distance. And you do see that some of this disappeared, but if we change this to 0, 0, 0, it will finally work. I've done this one a million times. Oh, maybe it doesn't work on the stems super well. Okay, so it doesn't work perfectly. Why? What can I do to make this work? I don't really know. It's so imperfect, but it does help, I think. I'm actually not even sure anymore. At this point, I feel like I'm losing my mind because I've been just going for so long. Oh, that's really frustrating that it's not visible there. I definitely didn't notice that in our world because I'm pretty sure this is what it looks like in our world because this is how we did it. And I did the exact same thing. Whatever. It's fine. Is it fine? I don't feel good about this. Oh my gosh, that's really frustrating. Control Z. Ah, goodness. I don't know what to do. Control Z. Okay, so here we are. We've got it. We should have it selected, the other one. Let's go mesh, normals, flip. And so the thought in my mind was, what if we just slide it, but just a hair? Like just ever so slightly disjointed, right? Maybe even go down instead of up, because it's the bottom side, so Control Z, go down just a hair. Yeah, just like that. Just a hair. And then when we go A to select all, and then we go mesh, merge by distance, it won't actually merge any verts, but it will make it one model. So remove 0 verts, so it still looks correct everywhere, but it's now just one model. So it'll only count as 1 rather than 2 when it comes to draw calls, and that's important. So yay, fixed it, and you really can't tell. Good. Now, we're going to do one more thing with this. We're going to duplicate it, so Shift-D, slide it over to here. That's about right. Let's go ahead, period to frame select that, and then slide it up. Grab our rotation tool, give it a good rotate. And the last thing we need to do to really optimize this is to merge it with the other one. And we need to do that with our palm trees too. So we select both tropical leaves, objects, join, go to edit mode, A, mesh, merge by distance. Then we're going to go back to, and you can see 0 verts were removed, so we're good. Switch back to object mode, all good. Very nice. And we're going to do the same thing to the palm trees. Now we just have this one tropical leaves object. And this is really ideal, especially when things are close together. So if people are looking at this, what's really happening behind the scenes is if you're looking at this with your VR headset and you see both of these at the same time, or even if you're on your phone or computer, the graphics card is only rendering, it's looking at both of them, it's like they use the same texture, they're the same model, it's like I can do this really quick. So it draws them at the same time, which means if there's any overlap, it doesn't draw the overlap, it does them at the exact same time, so it's saving one step. And when you're talking about a limit of 250 steps, because that's 250 draw calls, every step you can save counts. So here are 3 steps with these 3 palm trees, which is why you've seen me going so crazy at merging everything. So let's go object, join, and then click edit mode, A. And for whatever reason, joining isn't enough. You really need to merge them. So you go mesh, merge by distance. That unfortunately removed 13 verts. And I thought last time that setting this to 0 did the trick. I think it worked. But now I'm like having hesitations and doubts. I'm like, oh no. Then we'll switch back to object mode and we'll look and see if those palm trees look good. And I think they do. I don't see anything missing. If there is something missing, it's very much not noticeable. So we should be good. Okay. Palm trees is now plural. And yeah. So we've covered masking now. That's great. Trying to look through my notes here. We haven't made an inverted shape yet, which was just kind of for fun to show you something really cool. So I'd love to show you that. Oh, we haven't covered quite a few things. There's so many things still left to do. Plants, double-sided, we covered that. We covered masking. I'm just going through my notes. Okay. Let's take a look at our shack real quick, and then we'll move on to bringing another model in. Okay, so if we go shack, we go to edit mode. You can see like these verts are kind of all over the place. I don't really have anything super crazy here. I think I'm gonna just artificially create some stuff to demonstrate how this works. So if we come up here to the top and we select, let's go top-down view and select just these 4. So click, 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 and click. All right, so we got these 4 verts selected. We're then gonna right-click and subdivide. We now have 4, and if we wanted to get rid of this center vert, there's a feature called right-click, dissolve verts, and it just gets rid of them all. Now, this is an n-gon, so that's a problem. So we do need to triangulate. So we go A, select all. Is there a triangulate option here? No, we're gonna need to go use a modifier. So switch back to object mode, switch to wrench, add modifier, triangulate, switch to geometry view. Not great. You can kind of see it. Oh, but so it's triangulated just the top side. We'll go ahead and hit apply, and then we'll switch back to edit mode so you can really see it better. And so here you can see that it just drew a line through that. So if you needed to subdivide it, but not as much, you might be able to do that. You might also want to do, like, let's go, so up here you can switch from vertex mode to edge mode or face mode. And in face mode, we can select this face and this face and right click subdivide, a little bit easier. And then you might want to switch back to vertex mode and do something really cool like dragging this up to create a little bit of a hut look. Maybe these two get dragged up with these two so that they're at the same height. And we get something like that. I don't know what that is, but it's something. Maybe we'll unselect and select just the top one and go a little bit higher. I don't know. You know, it's your model. Go crazy, right? So, I kind of hate it. But anyway, the point is you can do that. So you can subdivide it. You can make the verts, and you can remove verts. So I think, now we don't want to do that. But anyway, as you can see, you can dissolve verts, but you can also dissolve faces. So if for some reason we wanted to get rid of this face, we'll go back to face mode. And we're going to undo this immediately after doing it. But if we click right click, dissolve face, dissolve faces. Not sure why that didn't work. Maybe because there's nothing to dissolve it into? I'm not sure. That seems weird. Maybe I need to select two. If we select these two and then hit dissolve faces. Okay, there we go. So we dissolved those two together. And I suppose we could have just gone like really crazy and selected all of these and clicked dissolve faces. And now this is an in-gone, so we need to subdivide it, which is like why this looks super weird. Like it's not, it's weird. We're not going to fix this. We're just going to hit Control Z. But anyway, you get the idea. You need to triangulate it, all that good stuff. Okay, switching back to object mode. And what I wanted to show you next was that you can delete faces and stuff. So still in edit mode. Sorry, I just lost track of that thought. So here we're on face selection. We can just delete face, and now there's a hole. Now the hole is on both sides. So if you wanted to make a hole, I'd recommend using the Boolean geometry to make a hole, because it'll build all the edges for you. But if you just needed to get rid of this, like we have a cave with a secret entrance, and by having this, you can walk through it, but then you can't get out. It's like, it's one way. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat, honestly. Like you can use it in really cool ways. So definitely consider that. You can also delete verts. So if we go to vert, you could hit delete vert, and now there's just a giant hole in the roof. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could. Go ahead and, I think there is a way to bring these back. Let's try it real quick. I'm pretty sure if you select all the verts on the edges, you can fill it in. I haven't done this in like a year, but if you right click, there should be, not merge verts. I'm sure somebody's screaming at the screen, click that button. I haven't done this in so long. It might be dissolve verts. Well, I mean, that did bring it back to being a flat shape. That's not what I was looking for. Like that did work, but it wasn't what I meant to do. Man, I could swear there's a way to fill this in. I don't know why I can't remember it. Mesh. It's like fill or something. Split, separate. Anyway, there's a lot of things you can do in Blender. Like absolutely a ton. Something like this I just don't do very often. There's definitely a place for it. Face. Solidify. No. Control Z. That's definitely not it. I'm like, that sounds right. Oh, fill. There it is. It's called fill. Ah, there we go. We found it. So as you can see, that filled in the gap, right? Now I think the other thing looked way better, so we'll just undo and go back to this. But, you know, there's options. Okay, guys. That covers deleting verts and faces, which means we are making good progress. We now need to bring in a model that needs some heavy optimization. So we're going to bring in, switching back to object mode, a water slide. I think I only have one on this computer. I think the other ones are on my other computer. So we're going to import FBX. let's go find that water slide. It should be inside of Slumber Party. Let's go find a water slide. Where would I put it? Maybe I didn't even download it to this computer. I guess that's possible. Water guns, pool pong. Let me pause. All right, after a lot of looking, I did eventually find it. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna bring it in. Let's go File. Let's save this. Save to this one. Blender whole scene tutorial, yeah. And this is the beach. All right, save. And then File. I think there's a way to import a Blender file. Let's see. Import.blend. Is that an option? Let's see. Blender. I don't see it in here, so I guess I'm gonna have to export it from the other one. Oh, it's called append. Here it is. So we go to the downloads, and there's this new Blender file, free fall water slides. Here it is. And append. What do you need? Append from a library.blend file. Oh, is it opening up the blend file? I don't know what I'm looking at. Just hit append. Did it work? I didn't select anything. Nothing indicated. Okay, I've never used this feature before. Let's try it one last time, and then I'm gonna give up. So select append. Just select all. A. Append. Did it do anything? I might be messing stuff up. All right, we're gonna try this the old-fashioned way. Open, recent, open. No, it's not a recent. I already saved this, so don't save. And then go to downloads and open up free fall water slides, open. Okay, so here we are in the water slides folder. Unfortunately, I wanted to do more of this optimization with you, but I just didn't have the unoptimized version. Like, I think these ones are not fully optimized. Let me check the mesh. Yeah, so these are good for optimizing, but like they used to have supports, and we just decided we weren't going to bring in the supports because they were just too much. So we basically just went through selecting these, separating them from the rest of the models, because you can only have so many verts, and like this, you can already see 68,000. It's kind of insane. You can only have a max of 400,000 verts in an interactive world, and when you bring this in, it doubles to 120,000 because Horizon doubles your verts. So lovely. Anyway, let's export this as an FBX. So File, Export, FBX, save that to Downloads, Free Fall Water Slides, Export FBX. And now we can go File, Open Recent, Beach Blend, don't save. All right, now we can go File, Import, FBX, Downloads, find our water slides. There it is, Import. All right, there they are. Nice, they're huge. Let's stick with just the simple free fall water slides. This one might be good to learn about. So let's just go through one at a time. So period to frame select this water slide. We call this the family water slide. And the first thing you'll note is it looks way shinier than it should. So when we go to the family water slide under materials, select materials, that was weird. You can see that metallic is slid all the way up. So we're just gonna slide that down to like 0.5. Now you get a little bit of shiny. I don't know that I'd even use metallic. Like with roughness up, it already looks pretty shiny. Maybe go metallic a little bit and roughness. There we go, that's better. Now that looks more like plastic. Cool. So now that we've got this set up, the problem is it's 25,000 verts. That's too many. If you want to add anything else, like you're just going to be running into trouble. So what we want to do is go into, well, let's first view it from wireframe just to kind of get an idea. And when you look at this, you can see there's just tons of extra geometry everywhere. In an ideal world, the thing you want to do is called, it's a version of decimate. So we go to modifiers, and we go add a modifier, generate decimate, and there's one called unsubdivide. This is like genuinely the one that you want to use if you can, but if we look at it, this one just doesn't unsubdivide, unfortunately. And so that sucks. Like I've already done this one. I've already optimized this one, so I already know what I'm looking at. But yeah, unfortunately this one's just not gonna unsubdivide. I've also realized that we're not selecting the whole mesh, so let's switch back to, let's remove this. Let's go back to preview mode, select everything, family raft, water slide. Is there 3 pieces in here? There are a few pieces, I see. Let's go ahead and join these together real quick. So go object, join, and then we can go to edit mode, A, and then, oh my gosh, is it now 40,000 verts? Now that we have the whole thing selected? Yeah, it's a lot more verts than 25,000, my goodness. So then we'll go mesh, and we'll go to merge by distance, and that got rid of 947 verts that happen to be in the same location, but just in case that did something we don't want it to, I'm gonna add some zeros. Oops, I said zeros. Oh dot, oh boy, am I messing this up. 0 dot, lots of zeros, 1. There we go. So it's only removed 16 verts now. That's probably safer. So you got our 40,000. With that all linked up, we can switch back to object mode, and we're going to keep ourselves in wireframe view so we can really see what's happening. We're now going to add generate decimate again. We're going to try on subdivide just in case I messed it up, and nope, still doesn't do anything. So the one that I like kind of the best is this planer. And look at that, right away, it's cleaned this up really nice. And it's dropped us from, holy smokes, it's dropped us from 40,000 down to 13,000. My goodness, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's just a 5-degree angle. So what it does is it looks at the angle of the verts, and if it's less than 5 degrees, it merges them into a plane. Let's see if this still looks good. So when we go back to preview mode, you can see, still looks good. Honestly, this is where I think we left it. We were just like, well, that was easy. There's some weird lighting issues that are going to happen because there's not enough detail. But, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain with the results. I mean, if you couldn't have it. Oh, we can see that there's some weird stuff happening because we don't have backface culling on. So let's go back to material, turn on backface culling. You can see that cleans itself up. So there was like edges sticking through. So that's cleaned up now. Let's keep looking. Anything else weird? Looks pretty okay. I mean, it's not perfect, but when we're talking about limited verts in a VR universe, this is amazing. Especially because the person's going to slide down it. They're barely going to be looking at the slide. Like, this is phenomenal. So, might just leave it there. You just hit apply. But we're going to just destroy this thing. We're going to get this to as few verts as possible. And to do that, we're going to add another decimate. So after doing the planar modification, there's one more modification that I also like. If you generate a decimate and you use collapse and you use the ratio, you can go until it starts, you know, looking bad, which happens pretty quick. So we're down to 6,000 verts, and I really didn't notice much change. There definitely are problems if you start looking closer. So I wonder if I can visualize this off by hitting that button. I don't think that's working. What does this do? Real time. Turn off real time. There we go. Okay, so before, after. Like I said, there's some problems. There are definitely some problems with it, but it's hard to complain. Like, if your world needs to have all the water slides or whatever it is you're trying to do, getting this down to 6,000 verts is pretty amazing. And so you can then just hit apply. Let's go to 0.5. We'll give it a little bit more. And then we'll just hit apply. Booyah. And to finish this up, we might do one more decimate, generate decimate, and go planar. Oof. Okay, can't do that. Something's gone wrong with the UVs. Something's gone very wrong with the UVs. Try 1 degree. Oof, it still gets messed up. So yeah, I guess we can't do any more. That's it. That's it. Could you potentially take this further? Maybe. You might be able to take this collapse further. I don't know. Like at a certain point, you're really losing stuff. Like look at the whole entrance is gone. So before, it almost instantly destroys that. This is just like The only reason you would ever decimate it down to like this, to 348 verts, is when it's being viewed from a far away distance. That's called level of detail. And Horizon does now support level of detail, so you could theoretically have a world with a ton of water slides. You've got levels of detail going down to this low poly, and then you've maybe got one that gets higher as they get closer, goes to like 3,000, and then they get all the way there and it's the full 6,800. That's totally possible. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this, but that's where I'm gonna end that for you for now. I have not done levels of detail in Horizon yet. I just haven't had the need, but it is something I should start considering. Honestly, I might actually try that with our latest build. That's kind of a good idea for our water slides. So anyway, there we go. We dropped that one. We did good. That was fun. We're gonna go ahead and delete it now that we're done with it. Same thing can be applied to these. Maybe we won't delete that. It's the exact same thing for these guys. I'm gonna go ahead and delete the free fall water slides. I just don't have the energy to keep going. Like we're at an hour and a half. We need to wrap this video up, and we're almost there. Looking through, we've done decimate, collapse, subdivide, and planar. What unsubdivide does is, subdivide splits it. If it's possible to unsubdivide it, it just does that. So if it's possible, it'll do it. But obviously in that case it couldn't. Oh, we haven't done the make inverted shape yet. Let's show that real quick. So making an inverted shape, really, really easy. I don't know what to tell you about this water slide. We just drag it down into the ocean, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just make the thing. I don't know where it goes. What do we rotate it? This is like, I'm going to delete this as soon as I'm done. There's no amount of this that's being kept, but for whatever reason, I just can't help but keep going. Like to make it perfect. Period. Look around. Kind of wondering if we slide this, can we wrap it around that hut? Like, can we set it on the hut? Would that be crazy? Oh my gosh, it totally sets on the hut. It might not look perfect in Horizon, but you could totally get that to look perfect. Like if you worked on it just a little bit. Wow, that's kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. Zooming in. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. And it's got a flat roof on the inside, so you wouldn't see that it's, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I hate this and I love it all at the same time. That's crazy. Okay. So, inverted shapes. We're going to add a new mesh sphere. So go with a UV sphere. And just some cool things about the UV sphere. It's way cooler than you could possibly imagine, which sounds ridiculous, but looking at it, if you go down here when you, oh, sorry. We have to create it first, so let's delete this. Add mesh UV sphere. When you create it, there's these options. We have to period to frame select it. You can change the number of segments to like 16, so you can lower the vert count from 480 down to 242. And there's almost no change. I mean, it's pretty similar. You can even drop the rings down to 12. It's still very, very similar. And then you can right click and add shade smooth, and boom, it's a perfect sphere. Okay, love that. Absolutely do seriously love that. But let's imagine we're making a metal sphere on the beach that's inverted, like a magical beach metal sphere. I don't know what this is for, but we're making it. And so what we want to do is invert the geometry. So we switch to edit mode, press A. You've seen me do this before. Mesh, normals, flip. And then back to object mode. Let's go back to our material settings. Make sure to add a material, which we're going to call sphere underscore metal. And then we're going to scroll down here to backface culling is on. And now you can see it's rendered from the inside. Pretty straightforward. We could then slide this up so that it's nice and visible. We could also slide it back down, potentially selecting the sand, pressing tab into edit mode, and then trying to get this to sit perfectly right here. So we could slide this one down, and then grabbing, let's see, does that look like it would roll into that position? Maybe slide this one up. Ideally, you're trying to make it so it hugs this sphere. So we switch tab back into object mode, select this object, slide it over and into place. Might be better in wireframe view to see this, but there we go. Because it's inverted, it just is like very finicky. But maybe we'll even make it float. It's a magical sphere anyway, isn't it? There we go. And then what we want to do is make it look metallic. So we're going to slide our metallic slider up, and that should look pretty crazy in VR. It's not as crazy like on a 2D surface because it looks still like a sphere, but it is inverted. It is cool. And what's really neat about it is you can put something inside of it. And so this sphere is going to be metal, as you can see. I do have a sphere from yesterday's tutorial that is metal, so I'm just going to grab that texture so we don't have to make it. Go to sphere underscore BR. Is that not in here? Oh, I must have put it in this folder. Sphere underscore BR for metal, Control C, and paste that into this one, paste. There we go. And then the last thing I wanted to do was go to, I hope I grabbed the right sphere BR. There's quite a few of them now that I think about it. When you watch tomorrow's tutorial, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, or yesterday's tutorial, you might watch tomorrow, or whenever you watch it, it's fine. Or don't watch it, it's fine too. Anyway, so that will link up with that texture, but what I was really trying to do was put something inside of it. And so if we add a mesh plane, we'll just slide this over and up. We can make this plane a masked logo. Let's see. And so you might imagine we put something on display and we Y-lock it inside of here. So it will be backface cold, so we'll just call this logo underscore masked. And then we're going to want to maybe get it the right direction, so 90 degrees, there we go. And then let's go back to material and turn on backface culling. Now, it is only rendered from one side, but there's a feature in Horizon where we can do Y-lock to lock it, so it always rotates. There's also freeform locking, where it always rotates to face you, which is pretty cool too. So base color is going to be set to an image. This isn't required, but we should find something that we can use for this. Where would I have something that would look good that's masked? I think we have a logo for... Oh, we have a logo from Slumber Party. Let's grab that. It's called... come on, brain. I'm looking for Slumber Party folder. There it is. And we have Beach Ballers logo. One of these. That one's not bad. The ball's good. Yeah, let's put the ball in there. Press open image. I should also show this, find this in Finder, or reveal this. I don't know if there's a way to do that. There isn't. Okay, I'll have to go find it in a second. So anyway, we've got this guy. We can orient him correctly. That's 90 degrees on the x-axis. Ooh, math is hard. That's fine. That looks good. And so the black section is going to get cut out. So you can imagine this guy is just hanging out inside this sphere. It'll look really cool. It's backface culling, right? So it'll rotate in Horizon. Okay, very neat. This is set up. The only thing we need to do is find that logo and bring it into our folder. So going into Slumber Party, Beach Ballers logos, Beach Ballers logos. There it is. This is the logo ball, Control C, back, back, back. Nope. Downloads, Control V, and then name this logo underscore BA. And BA will use the alpha channel for the masking. Cool. And there is one problem with this logo that I'm pretty sure is true. If I hover over it, you can see the size of it is 1600 by 1263. Really, you want things to be in powers of 2. And so we can go to right-click, edit with paint is not a bad idea, but yeah, we'll do this one with paint. So open with paint, and then inside of paint, we can change the size of this. So we go edit, Is there an option for that? Canvas size? There isn't. You have to do it via this. So we want to make the canvas uniform, so it's a square. So 1667. There we go. Okay, so this is now uniform. I do wish I could move him around. I don't know that I can, because I don't use this very often. I don't think, ooh, oh, I could have gone this way. I could have gone that way. Okay, I don't actually use this tool anymore. I used to use Paint a lot, but recently I've discovered photop.com, and I've been using it because it's just like Photoshop. It's like surprisingly like Photoshop. And I'll scale that over so the ads aren't in your way. We'll click open from folder, and we can open that logo image. So downloads, Blender whole scene, logo BA, press open. And now we've got this image, and we can then go image, canvas size, and we can set the canvas size to be equal, so 1667, press OK. And now it's a perfect square and he's centered. Perfect. Control save. That's going to save it to my computer. Go ahead and minimize that now. And now we can click on our logo, and it's a perfect square. But the problem is it's not in power of 2. And so what I wanted to show you is if you open this in your regular photo viewer on Windows, you can, oopsie, come on, escape. What you can do is click the 3 dots and then click resize image. And then we can change it to be 1024 by 1024. And then press save. And then we'll save this in here as logo. Make sure you go to the right folder, downloads. Logo BA, press save, press overwrite, and now that has overwritten it. So we now have, if we hover over this, try again. Should say 1024. It doesn't say 1024, that's weird. Logo BA large. Did this save to the wrong place? That has happened to me so many times. Image, resize image. No, it says it's 1024. Maybe Windows is just telling me the wrong number. Oh yeah, now it's the right number. Okay, cool. I can delete that. Okay. Whew. Okay, so with that set up, our logo is good. But there were some other ones that were kind of big. So Ocean Mesa is fine at 1024 because it's just a color. These are just colors. The one that's a problem was the sand is 2K and the palm tree is 1K. Palm tree is fine. The sand and the foliage is too big as well. Oh, wait. I resized it yesterday. That's right. But the sand is still too big. So let's resize sand. So we'll go click resize image, change that to 1024. Now if you wanted to have a lot of detail in the sand, you can leave it that big, but you're taking off 5 megabytes. That means the download time for users joining your world is going to be way faster. We're talking really fast comparatively. So we'll go ahead and click save that to the same folder, and save and replace. There we go. Okay, so for whatever reason, that sand doesn't update. Oh, it did update that time. Whatever. Anyway, cool beans. If we select all of those, does it tell us the total size? It does not. Oh, it does. 4.96 megabytes. So we're only at 4.96 megabytes for our textures, noting that 40 megabytes is the limit. I showed this in yesterday's video, but I think it's worth showing in both. If we go to, it's on the Learn website. Hopefully it's saved in my thing here. Oh, it's not. I've been planning to put a link to this in the description. Give me a second to find it. All right, here it is. So this article is called Best Practices Model something or other. I should scroll to the top, texture stuff. Okay. Best Practices for Custom Models. I plan to put, a link to this somewhere. But anyway, Best Practice for Custom Models. You'll find this online. I wonder if it's available on... And if we see if it's available for everyone. It is. Okay, cool. So now we switch down to world budgets. Okay, so down here under world budgets, this is where we're going to find the statistics we're looking for. So 600,000 verts is what they're recommending, 1 million for static worlds. I definitely recommend keeping it a lot lower than this. These values are really high, and Horizon does double the verts when you bring them in for whatever reason. So whatever you're seeing in Blender, just double that. Draw calls of 150 definitely is on the low side. I think 250 is probably safe. Static worlds can probably get away with a little bit more. but it also is based off of the number of verts you have, and it's also based off the number of draw calls and texture sizes. So there's just a lot of factors that come into play here, and you're kind of playing a juggling effort. I'll say very quickly that on Murder Manor, we were able to get away with 1,000 draw calls with a lot of efficiency put into those, but the verts were only at 150, 200,000. Like, it was very low verts. We were using the lowest level of detail on everything, and that saved us so we could have more. But that didn't last forever. Like, Horizon changed. They made the avatars about 2 or 3 times more vertices than just the avatars, and now the world is actually not the best on performance. And it would be really wise for me to go in there, redo it, and join all the models together. Because when we built it, we didn't know how to join, but it's so much work that we just don't have the time to do it. Anyway, travel time world budgets, unique vertices. So they're saying if you want to make the world faster to get to, keep these verts down. So it's saying unique verts. Notice that they call these ones total verts. So unique verts is before they double it. So this is like the number you'd see in Blender. I definitely recommend these numbers. I think these numbers are right on track. So this is like 400,000 total verts. This is 800,000 total verts. And then texture size, 40 megapixels. You saw that we were at like 4.5 or something like that. And then 80 megapixels maybe would be the maximum. It's going to make the world take a lot longer to download. And here's a little reference sheet where 1Ks are 1 megapixel, a 2K is 4 megapixels, a 4K is 16 megapixels, which means you could only have 2.5 4K images, or you could have 41K images. And we actually will even go down to 512. So in Murder Manor, it was entirely 256 and 512s here. And if they had text on it, we might go up to a 1K. So just keeping things low will definitely give you a lot more texture options, but each texture counts as a draw call. So that's kind of a downside. So you got to think about that. There's options for trim sheets, which I just don't have a lot of time to talk about today, but that's where you put multiple textures or you use the same texture for multiple models. So you can put multiple textures on a texture, kind of like you saw the plants. Let's see if I pull that up real quick. Under our plants, you saw that we had all of the plants stored on one. That's a great way to do it. So all of these plants are just one draw call, and then each of those models is using the same texture, which is pretty cool. And this isn't even a large texture size. It's pretty small. You could erase things from here that you're not using though, to save yourself some size, which was something I wanted to mention about the water slide. We'll get back to water slide in a second. I'll try to remember that. So here you can see some generic asset recommendations based off the size of the object, the number of verts. Here's some model specification stuff. And more or less, there's a ton. There's a ton here. Lot to learn, lot to know. But we're trying to crash course you in it. So I think we're doing okay. Let's not forget to set up our family raft material. So we're going to call this the family slide. And then I'm actually going to rename this up here as family slide. There we go. And with that set up, we do need to link it to the material for family slide. So we need to go find that, which I did download. So downloads, there it is, Control C, Control V, and we need to make sure to name this family slide underscore BR. Now this texture has multiple textures on it, just kind of like we were talking about. And if you hover over it, you can see that this is a 4K, so it's pretty huge. This is literally bigger than all of our other textures combined. But what's most interesting about this texture is that it has a bunch of detail on things that we don't need, like the pool floor. We're not using a pool floor. These pool water texture, some other textures for different elements of the water slide that we already deleted. So what we can do is first open it up and make it smaller. So go to resize image. And let's resize this down to 256. You'll see why in a second, because we're just using the color. So we go to Downloads, Blender, and Family Slide BR, save, overwrite it. All right, so now that we have this family slide really small, we can then right-click, open, and we can look at the size. It was previously 6 megabytes. It's down to 61 kilobytes now. That's amazing. But we can also open it with Paint and make it even smaller by just getting rid of the sections that we're not using. So the colors for our water slides are these ones. Is this the family slide? This might have been the free fall water slide. Anyway, I think it'll still map okay. We can check it in Blender real quick. Let's go to our picture here and reference the correct picture. Let's see, family slide. Does that link up correctly? It does appear that it didn't link up perfectly right. I need to go get the right color. 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, so I found it. Here's the correct one, save image. And you can see I've already erased some of those textures. So we'll go back into Blender, family slide, BR, save this one, replace it. And so you can see that we do have a couple textures still in here that need to be replaced. So we'll do that. Let's go and link this up correctly. So reselect family slide and press open. And now that's the correct look. Very nice. Now going back into that image, right click. Let's see, what size is that now? It's back to being a 4K. So let's fix that real quick. 3 dots, resize image down to 256, 256. There we go. And save to the family slide BR, save, replace, nice. All right, so now we got that down to very tiny. Looks like the numbers haven't updated on it yet. Let's right click, open with paint. And here we are in paint. We can zoom that in. Let me move that up to you guys. There we are. And then Control Z, zoom that. And then what we can do is recognize that we're using this blue, we're using this pink, we're using this gold maybe. And then everything down here, we can just paint gold. So if we eyedropper tool the gold, and then eyedropper tool the right side, we can then grab shape, cube shape, and then under shapes, there's an option to fill the shape. Let's draw a shape real quick. There should be shape fill. I might need to make this bigger for it to appear. Where is that? Normally, there it is. I guess I need to make it wider. Okay, so then drop down, use solid fill. I can then stretch that out. And that gets rid of all that color. You can see right here, our size was 25.2 kilobytes. When I hit Control Save, the size drops down to 1.4 kilobytes. We literally went from like 25 times, or I guess it was 20 times. It was about 20 times that. It's crazy. Up here, the color is probably okay. We might get some weird oddities because I dropped it to a 256. So let's go ahead and open this again and see if it looks right. Do we see any like black appearing anywhere? It doesn't look like it. So we might be on the clear. And we see that we're using the gold and the blue. And so one really cool trick for you guys to try. And so one cool trick you might try is, what do we say? We said we're using blue and gold. So when we're looking at this, we can get rid of this pink. So we'll go ahead and eyedropper tool the pink. We'll grab this and drop blue. Oh, excuse me, I meant to eyedropper tool the blue and then dump that there. Yeah, and then we can get rid of that all that up there too. We could just use a thing, but I want to be exact on the pixel location. Here, let's try that square thing again. Eyedropper right click and then drag out a shape and scale it to fill this area. Very nice. Trying not to accidentally get anything I don't want. Very good. So what I was going to point out, and we can hit Control Save to see it drops even smaller, but it's not that much difference because we were just 3 colors before. But really what you want to see here is that if we change this color and use our dump bucket, we can make the color brighter. So we can go to our colors and, you know, choose maybe a slightly more vibrant blue and press OK. And then dump bucket, boom. That didn't work. Select the other color. Boom. I don't know if that worked. Try again. What did I do wrong? Slide this up, press OK. There it is. Okay, I finally got it. And then we can do the same thing for gold, right? So we could eyedropper tool gold, select this one, select color, and then maybe choose like a slightly more yellow gold right there, press OK, and dump, and then Control Save, heading into here. And if you don't like those colors, you can choose whatever colors you want. So like that's also an option. Press Open, Family Slide, press Open Image, and you know, I don't even love that much more. I don't know if I'd like that. Anyway, it's fine. It's totally fine. Things are good. Okay. Let's check our to-do list because I am actually getting close to running out of time, which is crazy because, oh my gosh, how did this tutorial get to 2 hours already? It's insane. But 1 second while I look at the notes. All right, we got a few things we need to go through really quickly before we can bring this into Horizon. And I wanted to add more props and things to the beach scene, but like, it's fine. You get the idea. You can bring stuff in, you can move it around, you can place it, you can join it, all that good stuff. But what I need to show you is how to separate something that has multiple materials attached to it. So if we go into Blender and we look at our hut here, and it has 2 materials, you might receive an item that has multiple materials and need to split it. So if we go into, I believe you have to be in edit mode. So let's go to edit mode, select all, mesh, separate, not split. It's called separate. Very clear here. I always use the wrong term. If you separate by material, you can also separate by selection. So if you were like, you could use linked geometry. So clicking L to select just the house, or something like, anyway, there's lots of ways to separate, right? Then you can select A, and then you can right click mesh, separate by material, and now it's split it into 2 separate pieces. So you have the shack, and then you have the window. And if we switch back to object mode, you can really clearly see that. So clicking here, then clicking there. There you go. So you can see there's 2 different pieces now. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z because I do prefer them being merged together. There we go. They're back to 1. And then I wanted to show you one more where we used linked geometry. So if we select on these plants, let's say for some reason you needed to separate these, you could go into edit mode, and then you'd use unselect, and then hovering over one of the plants, pressing L to select linked geometry. You can now see we could actually separate just the one leaf, and then you'll see we missed the stem, so we could select L to select a stem. And then if we wanted all of it, we could just keep going and select all those 6 pieces there. And now that we got that all selected, we can then separate mesh, separate by selection, and now that's its own separate piece. And I didn't get all of it apparently. I got most of it though. Anyway, we'll go ahead and Control Z. You get the idea. It's pretty cool. There is another way to do this now that I think about it. You could have just done this in X-ray mode. So you remember X-ray mode from earlier. You can then select all, and then do mesh separate by selection, and then turning off visibility. We can see that we got that correct this time. Control Z, bring them back together. I think we're good. Cool. Back to object mode. Nice. Okay, so we've now covered separating by material and selection. The next thing I wanted to show you was about UVs. And so if we select this slide, oh, look at this slide. It's in the thing too much. Oops. Honestly, that's where I would just click on this, go into edit mode, select the top vert, and then just drag it down till it's right there, and then drag this one down right to there. And you're done, right? Like, that works. It's not perfect. There's like, this is a little too high now, but you get the idea. Anyway, switching back to object mode. Okay, cool. The next thing I was going to show you is that we could move UVs around. So if we select the water slide, go to UV editing, here we can see where the UVs are. So you can see, for the most part, they're in the gold and the blue. And if you wanted to, I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, you could select all of the blue verts, I guess all of them, and then grab the slide tool and slide them down into yellow. And now if we look, this is pretty ugly, but now we've got a yellow slide. Oh my goodness. I feel like everything's kind of gotten grayed out for some reason. It's really weird to me. But anyway, now it's a yellow slide. Let's Control Z that. We don't want a yellow slide. There we go. Back to object mode. Nice. But what you might do is imagine this, and I'm just gonna have you imagine it because we don't have time to show it, but imagine you created, just like you saw we had that 2 colors, just the blue and the gold. Imagine you had one that had 16 colors on it, your entire style sheet for your world. You could move those verts into a spot, you could like scale them down using the scale tool and move them into a specific color region. Same thing could be done with the gold version, and you could basically make this one texture that is 16 colors and use it across all models that have color. So anything that's just a colored model, you can then use one texture for, which reduces your draw calls and just really optimizes your whole world. So you can kind of imagine it based off what you just saw there. It's really cool. I've been starting to do that because we're trying to reduce our draw calls and whatnot. It's a lot of work. We're like in the last month of this build where it's just like constant optimization stuff, but it's worth it for the amazing amount of things that we get to add. By optimizing, we get to add more stuff, so it's worth it. Okay, so moving UVs to a singular color atlas, we have talked about it. custom UV projections is the last thing on my list. And I have a whole tutorial on it. So if you want to learn more about custom UV projections, you could go watch that. We even talked about it yesterday, but we're going to do this. It's worth it. It's going to be fun. Let's do custom UV projections. So let's bring out a mesh cube, slide this up. And if we look at the UVs, let's click period. So we frame select it. We switch to the UVs. You can see this is what a cube looks like. And this is probably not surprising. To anyone who's seen a cube, not surprising at all. There's some ways you might want to change this. I'm going to basically do some of the stuff we did yesterday because it's it's so relevant, so important. Let's apply a texture to this. So materials tab, and let's slide it into the ground. I don't know what we're doing, but we're going to take this and grab our slide tool, slide it down. Sure, right there. Okay, we got our material. We're just going to call this wood. I think I want to delete this when we're done, but I guess we could bring it into horizon. Now that we got our wood, we can go to base color. We want to preview it, which is why we're setting up a texture. We need to find something that tiles. I have a lot of tiling textures. Downloads. I really should just add it to this list, huh? Downloads, let's find this one. This is the one we made most recently. Control-C, it's kind of fun. And we're then going to go into here, Control-V. All right, so we got our rainbow. It doesn't tile perfectly, but it's pretty good. So let's refresh. And then there should be the rainbow tiling. I'm going to rename this to wood underscore BR. I was originally planning for wood, obviously, and then that didn't happen. Where did wood go? Where'd it go? What? Control-C. What? Hello? Hello? Are you there? Are you the wood I'm looking for? It says, no, you cannot rename me. I accidentally removed the .png. Fixed it. Okay. Refresh again. Let's bring in this rainbow wood. Beautiful. And even by default, that looks pretty cool. It's not perfect. It's got some hard edges, but it looks pretty cool. But what we might want to do is select all of our UVs and scale them to fill this up. So if we just scale it manually right to the edge, right there, we can then grab our slide tool. And if we fill one of these, the way that the UVs work, it's going to line them all up. And this works on some of them. Like, it works on some of them. It's not bad. Some of these are perfect, some of them are not. Let's go back to layout view. And then one thing we might do is select a different tiling texture. I'm thinking I've got some better ones inside of the Slumber Party folder. So let's go into Slumber Party. We just made one recently called Rock. Just avoiding wood at all costs, I guess. It's going to be under the house scene for import textures, and we would have called it Volcano. Press open. There you go. And so this one tiles perfectly, and as you can see, it looks great. So very, very nice. That's phenomenal. So if you get a really good tiling texture, you can make it look really good on a cube just like that, but that's not the only way to project a texture. Let's go back to our rainbow texture, which we know wasn't working just right. So let's go ahead and select our wood, rainbow wood, and you can see it's not perfectly projected, but if we switch to one of these views, let's try a Y view so we can actually see it. And then while we're in Y view, we switch back to UV editing. There is a feature called, oh, we need to switch back to that vantage point X. Actually, we're under Y, there we go. Let's slide up, zoom in. I'm zooming in by scroll wheeling, by the way. Where is it? Why do I feel like oh, here it is, UV. This doesn't feel right. I feel like this is normally somewhere else. I feel like it's over here normally. There it is, UV. So there's a few different ways to unwrap. So you can use a cube projection, which has perfectly made all of them use the fill, which is basically what we had before. So really it's the same thing. Let's switch back to this view. There's also UV cylinder projection. I don't know why you'd want to do this. I guess it's not bad. It's different. It's not bad. It's different. Switch back to the view. There is sphere projection. Very interesting. Very different. Not sure how I feel about this one. Looks pretty good, to be honest. It's different, but looks good. Switching back to the view again. And then lastly, the one that I like is project from view with bounds. This has filled it to the frame, but where it's different is it reflects and it's going to stretch the top. The top, this is not going to look good on the top, but, oh, actually it doesn't even look that bad. See, what it does is it stretches so that this rainbow stretches across and matches over here. And that is perfectly aligned. I mean, that's so good. That looked way better than I expected it to. That looks so good. Yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. It's just, oh, nice. That's so nice. So, and you can also project from a different angle. So if you don't want to project it from a flat angle like that, you could also do UV project from view with bounds. And then with bounds is good. You can see how that projects onto this cube now that it's not specifically aligned with an axis. And then as you go around it, you get sort of like a really interesting rainbow pattern, which might be what you're going for. So lots of ways to do this. You could even select, like if you really want to get crazy, you could even select the UVs and just drag them around. I don't even know what I just did. But you can really go crazy with this. We're going to go back to this one. I like this the best. And we're done. All right. I can't believe it. Whew, I was really hoping to have like half an hour before noon. I got 18 minutes, so we're gonna bring this into Horizon very quickly. We're gonna see it, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the comments section. This has been quite the whirlwind. That's a lot of content. We're just over 2 hours, so I feel like right in the sweet spot for timing. That's kind of what I would expect. Let's go ahead and save our Blender file, export, FBX. And now that we've exported this FBX, we're going to export it somewhere. Blender whole scene, beach scene, V1. And what's nice is when you export this, because of these large bounding boxes, you can bring it in pretty close to the same spot as it was before. As long as you don't add anything larger or taller than this or lower than this, it's going to come in at the same location in Horizon or wider. So if you make multiple copies of this, let's bring in Horizon now. I think I set everything up. I feel like I'm going a little fast here at the end, so I'm worried that one or two things might be off, but we'll see it when we get there. Let me make sure that this is in the right position. Come on, Horizon. I don't know what to tell you. Still going. Loading, 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 loading. Man. So, yeah, to really clarify here, you can put more models on there, export the scene as like version 2, re-upload it. In Horizon, you can copy the position. So right-click, copy position, and then on the new model, when you import it, I usually turn off the visibility of my old model set, and then paste the new one at the same position, and then make slight adjustments until it's perfectly aligned. You can also put alignment objects in the world and just like check. So we use the door frame as our aligner because we have a door in the world that's animated. So when we bring it in, we make sure the door frame lines up with the door. So little things like that help. Hey, yo, we're in. Let's go, new world. Excited? Nervous? A little of both. A little of both. Let's get this lined up just right there. It's like 2 hours of work culminates in, does this actually import? So, and for you guys, it might have been multiple days. So good job getting to here at the end. Bringing this in earlier might be a wise decision, although it's probably a little late to tell you that. Add new 3D model. Preserve offset pivots is turned off. Choose files. Go into our downloads. Go into our folder. We got beach scene version 1. We select all of our textures at the same time. Press open. Press import. This import process takes a long time when you have as much models and as much textures as this. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and resume when it finishes loading in. Hey, yo, it's done. And I was eating broccoli. Sorry about that. My bad. All right, let's go. So here it is. Right click and place. No errors, so we must have had all the textures named correctly. It looks like all the textures did come in correctly. Oh, I forgot to triangulate the slide. Okay, let's move this into position, and then I will show you how to do that. So, oh yeah, lots of little things to do here when we bring this in. But you can see, look at the masking's working, windows are working. The slide's in the wrong position, which is super weird. I know what causes this. I'll show you how to fix it. This really frustrates me. It's a Horizon bug. I've reported it 4 times at this point. I don't know. They never fix anything, so I don't expect it to get fixed. But let's fix the problem with the n-gons first. So this is what happens when you don't triangulate. You get weird stuff like that. Okay, so we'll leave this open, heading into the beach scene. And we're going to triangulate it and then fix it. So file, let's switch back to layout view. And we want to fix this water slide. So we go to modifiers, add modifier, generate, triangulate. And then we'll go ahead and click apply. There we go, very good. And then what we want to do to fix this water slide is click file, export, FBX, and then save this into, I'll just put it in downloads. Well, no, I'll save it in here, this is fine. Call this water slide. And then I want to export just selected objects, so then press export. And then the problem is, see this sub-hierarchy? This is what's throwing Horizon off. For whatever reason, when they bring it in and flatten the hierarchy, they just mess this up for whatever reason. So I'm going to turn this one off, all the way off, all the way off, and then click File, Import, FBX, and just bring that export in. So we're going to go into our scene. There's water slide, import FBX. It's right in the same exact position, but it's no longer it no longer has the weird hierarchy. I can then rename this family slide, and it should have all the properties. Oh, we need to delete this one. Delete hierarchy. Now let's get that name right. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And if we look at the materials setting, we can see that that's set up, but it has the wrong material name, so I can fix that. And good enough. Okay, we're good. So now we're ready to export this. File, export, FBX, beach scene v2. And then we need to make sure to turn off selected objects, so it exports the entire scene. And then export FBX. We can see that our scene is at, what is that? 10,500 verts. Not bad for this scene. This is a pretty good looking scene for only 10,500 verts. Let's not save. Oh, I should have hit save. Dang it. Well, it doesn't matter. We're not doing anything else after this. It's trash. We're done. We're moving on. And technically the FBX file can just be brought into Blender, so it's fine. All right, selecting beach scene, selecting everything, control clicking to unselect the previous two, pressing open and import. And I kind of want to fix that Blender scene in case you ever run into that same issue. Blender 4.5, and give that a second to boot up. Pressing open beach Blender file. And so this has the untriangulated, like the hierarchy hasn't been fixed in this one. So what I'm going to do is just very simply delete everything, delete hierarchy. Everything's gone now. Switch back to layout view. File, import, FBX, and then we can just import beach scene version 2, and that brings back everything, just as we had it. Ta-da! Everything looks good. It kept all of our properties. It looks like the dithering might be back on this. Anyway, it's good enough. Control save. I'm probably never opening this up again. All right, this is the old one. I was like, no! Okay, so what we wanted to do was show how to realign this. So we have beach scene version 1. I like to move it to 0, 0, 0. So ideally, my scene when I bring it in is always at 0, 0, 0. Now this does mean that you need to bring out a environment gizmo to get rid of the grid. So we'll bring out the environment gizmo and then check no grid. Now that that's done, I also want to turn off the fog density so we can see it. Nice. And then last but not least, we can now turn off beach scene's visibility and collidability and reflecting light and shadows. And then we can right click and paste the beach scene version 2. And now that that's in, we can change the position to match at 0, 0, 0. And flicker warning here, we might be seeing some flickering. I'm going to turn beach scene version 1 on. And okay, other than the water slide, everything is in the right place, and the water slide is now in the correct place. So we can now delete beach scene version 2, or excuse me, version 1, and just keep version 2. Once you bring it in, you might want to interact with some of these objects. To do that, you can right-click unparent child objects, or excuse me, unlink instance root is what you want to do. I'd recommend keeping them parented if you're going to be continuously replacing them. But something that you might keep in here would be like the sphere or the logo plane. I forgot to name this, call this logo. Now if we go and look at this logo, pressing F key to focus, there is a weird thing where it just doesn't focus when it's inside of a group. Whatever, we're going to ignore that. It looks good, but it's not centered. So let's take the sphere and the logo and move them outside of the beach scene. And you might imagine that the logo needs to be centered in the sphere, so we'll copy the position, and then we'll paste that on the logo. And then what we want to do is create a parent object for the logo. So we go create parent object, and then we need to make it billboard freeform. And then we might scale it down a little bit to like 0.7, tab 0.7, tab 0.7, 0.7, there we go. And now that that's locked in, everywhere we go, this is going to be good. We can then select the sphere, F key, Alt left click to do this. And that looks really cool, right? Like that's a pretty neat looking inverted object. We've got our rainbow cube looking really good. Our windows looking decent. We've got our water slide. Let's go preview what our size looks like. You can definitely see the bottoms clipping through a little bit. If once we had triangulated it, that would have appeared inside of Blender, and we could have gone and clicked on the specific verts and dragged the verts up to fix it, or dragged the verts down. It's just the bottom piece is kind of coming through is the problem. Anyway, you can see the size of this is pretty decent. Let's go check out our little beach hut. Ooh, this is a little big. Oops. The plants are nice. Palm trees are nice. Beach is pretty good. Because, like, if you brought this in and you were just done, you could just take this shack and scale it down. And you can see it's just one object, even with the glass in it, which is pretty cool. Grab the scale tool, shrink it down. Yo, where'd it go? Control Z, Control Z. Oh, I hate Horizon sometimes. Oh my gosh, it's down below the world. It's no longer in position, and there's no Control Z because the undo wasn't set up properly. Well, I'm ending it there. Oh my gosh, guys, this has been fun. Unfortunately, I am really out of time. I hope you've learned an absolute lot from this. If you have any other information you want to share, please feel free to leave it in the comments, share with everyone else. We also have a Discord, link is in the description for that. Would love to have you there. Any other questions, you're welcome to ask. I don't know a lot about Blender. I pretty much put everything I knew about Blender into this video. That was the goal. But yeah, good luck. Have fun building worlds. Have fun in Blender, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!